Okay, we're recording, and I just want to thank everybody for doing this student panel on parenting during COVID. This is an extension of the conversation we started on the Center for Student Engagement and Activities blog called the CSEA Student Voice. And I want to welcome all the panelists who are parents and ask them to say hello and, talk, just introduce themselves and maybe their child or how many kids they have, their marital status, and also which region they are in either California or the country. And I'll just do this by the tiles on my computer, and we'll start with Whisper Tennis. Oh, and maybe also your degree program. Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm Whisper Tennis. I am a widower. My husband passed away this past January, right before COVID started. I have a 2.5-year-old, Levi. Work full-time, go to school full-time. I'm in the dual master's program with MFT and clinical counseling, and I started my practicum. I'm located in the San Diego area.
Thank you, Whisper. Hi, Levi. Thanks for participating. And then Kristen.
Yes, hello, my name is Kristen Valentine. I'm currently residing in San Diego. I am married and I have 4 children. Ages are 16, 9, 7, and, he's almost 7, 6 and a 5-year-old. I am getting my bachelor's in early childhood development with a integrated teaching credential, multi-subject. So thank you very much for having me here tonight.
Thank you. And then Ryan.
Hello, my name is Ryan Zeno. I graduated in June with my Master of Public Health from NU. I am married with 1 child who's 3 years old, so not quite school age yet. Very lucky there. And we have 1 in the oven ready to come out in February. I'm in Houston, Texas. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Ryan. And then Maria. You're on mute. Maria, you're still on mute.
Sorry. So I'm Maria Marzicola. I'm in Santa Barbara. I am in the Inspired Masters for Education program for teaching. And I have 1 18-year-old daughter. And yeah, glad to be here.
Awesome. And then Jacqueline.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Moreno. I'm in the Masters for School Psychology program. I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son. I'm married and I'm in the Imperial Valley. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, Jacqueline. And Luis.
Hi, I'm Luis Ramirez. I'm married, have 3 children, 10, 8, and 6, I think. In the ballpark. I'm in the nursing program at National University San Diego, graduating in 6 days, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Congratulations. So exciting. And then Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm in North County, San Diego. I'm currently studying to get my bachelor's in business administration. I have 3 kids, 2 high schoolers, and I am recently married, got married last week.
Congratulations, so exciting. And then Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Shepard. I am getting my bachelor's in nursing in Fresno, California. I am recently separated. Well, everything shut down from COVID and it happened the next weekend. So that was a COVID experience also. I have 1 school-age child at home, and then I have 4 other grown children who made COVID rather interesting as well.
Thanks, Lisa. Glad you're here. And McCoy.
Hi, everyone. My name is the nurse program in San Diego. Married, and we have 3 kids. Like Luis, I get confused with the age also. 12, 10, and
You cut out for the last kid's age.
oh, and 8. 12,
Oh,
10, and 8.
Okay. Great, thanks, McCoy. And I'm Patricia, and I'm in San Diego. I'm the Associate Director of NU Scholars and Center for Student Engagement Activities, and I have 2 school-age children, 2 girls who are 10 and 8. So one of the first questions is, right now, and we're recording this in October of 2020, what does parenting during COVID look like for each of you? And I think one of the questions is, are you homeschooling? Is your child, and when I say homeschooling, I mean, are they remote learning, or are they learning in person, or is there a hybrid option for your kids? And what does all of this look like in terms of perhaps time management? And then we said before we started recording that hands would go up for folks who wanted to share, and we'd probably keep our shares maybe to 1 minute or so. Lisa.
I can share. So my 7-year-old is in 2nd grade, and they are doing online learning from home. So it's structured from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. He's on Zoom with breaks. They're talking about going back next month, but I'm not quite sure that'll happen. So his day, we're kind of trapped at home all day for him to do school. And yeah, if there's more to that question, let me know if I didn't answer it completely. But so parenting for that is a lot of at home, but also I'm kind of turned into the teacher's aide because he's 7. He can't find pages by himself. He can't print things by himself. He can't, and there's things that are lost in translation when he tells them to do something. So it's a lot of disruption. At first, I tried to do my schoolwork or classwork while he was in school. And there's a lot of disruption, him needing me every 10, 15 minutes. So one creative thing we've done is he'll have his school time and I'm available. I do housework or just hang out. And then when it's my turn to do school, or like right now, he's on a video call with my sister and they're reading. So we've gotten creative that way. For my time management, he's being babysat over the phone technically, but he's also spending time with his aunt reading. So that's the one creative way we've found to give me time to do school.
That's a great creative way, definitely. Kristen.
So my kids.
Oh yeah, there's 2 Kristens.
Just say Valentine for me. It's just easier.
Okay, sorry about that, Kristen Alspa. Sorry. Good boy, Kristen Alspa. Why don't you take yourself off mute? There you go.
So let's see. This has been hard, and I know it's been hard for everybody. My life is pretty much the same as far as I go to work every day. But now instead of studying at lunch, which I used to do, I now come home and make food and make sure everybody is doing what they need to do. All my kids have been doing online learning. They have a hybrid model. They haven't been allowed. My high schoolers won't go back until at least after Thanksgiving break. My middle schooler, however, we're going to start going back to school on Wednesday. And we got the whole breakdown of that. So he's going to be in the car. He can't get out until after he has his temperature checked, and they have certain places they go in, and then he's going to be traveling around with the same 12 kids. I'm bracing myself for this being more difficult. It's going to require me being late to work and take a really late lunch to pick them up. We don't have the ability to have friends pick them up anymore. So that's going to be a struggle. Hopefully we'll see how it goes. I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out. I think it'll be okay.
Well, that's going to be different. That's true. Kristen Valentine.
So last week, my children started doing a hybrid where they go to school from 8 a.m. until 10:35. Before that, they were doing distance learning. They were doing VLA at home. And so now with them, my younger 3 being at the elementary school, I go and I take them, and then I come home and do some schoolwork if I can, or do some housework. And then I also have my high schooler here who's here all day long. And he just sits, with his computer, and I go in there and I help him with whatever he needs. He's taken some really hard classes this trimester. Supposedly they're going back in November, but I don't know. They really haven't discussed what that's going to look like for us. So it'll be interesting. But my time management is I have a to-do list. I have a daily checklist. I have it written down, because when my husband is home, he does try to help, and he likes having that uniform schedule of, okay, what time do we have to get the kids and whatnot. But beforehand, it was kind of nice in a sense, because I was sitting on the couch reading a book for school, or doing, having my laptop, being able to work, or I'd like sit next to my fourth grader and help him with his math while I still had my school open as well. It has its challenges, but I mean, we've been able to make it work, and I'm thankful right now I'm not working, so I am able to help my kids. If I was working, it'd be a whole nother story, and I feel for all those parents out there that have to work and juggle all this stuff like Kristen was stating. So.
Whisper, how are you doing? Because I know that you've got school work. Everything seems full time.
Everything's full time. It's been a juggle. So thankfully, Levi is able to go to the church school that I have him in. He started in August. So I drop him off about 8:30 in the morning. Parents aren't allowed to go in there though, because of the whole COVID thing. So they have tables at the front of the desk, like right by the building. Parents have to have their masks on. They check his temperature, check my temperature. We have to wash hands, and then he's not allowed to have his shoes on. So I take his shoes and he goes into the building. We've created a routine with that, but at first it was really hard to drop your 2-year-old off to his classroom and not be able to go into his classroom and not being able to interact with his teachers. Thankfully, his teachers do really good with communicating with me. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I drive to my clients up in San Clemente and help stabilize them. And then Tuesday, Thursdays, I'm in a high school charter school that's doing hybrid classes and doing counseling for the high school students there. So it's crazy. We come home, we wash up, we have dinner, but just trying to stay organized. I have my agenda book super planned out, super colorful, and then giving myself grace, because things are not perfect, things are crazy, and sometimes it's okay to not be okay and just say, you know what, today's a day that I need a little extra grace.
Yeah, for sure. You're doing amazing, by the way. It's a lot on your plate, so you're doing great. One of the things that I wanted to get to were what were some of the struggles that folks on here encountered, and how did you overcome them in this moment as a parent and student and worker? And I'm going to start with Jacqueline.
Yeah, well, it's been quite different. One of the big struggles here is that my daughter gets really frustrated. Like if she doesn't understand something right away, if the internet's not working properly, like she really gets upset. And she's been honestly like crying every day, even though she got Student of the Month. So she's doing great, but she gets frustrated. So what we did is I reached out like to the school counselor. I had her talk to the school counselor, and I would say, or I would recommend, just reach out. There's resources out there to help us. Like, we're not alone. Everybody's going through this. And sometimes it's kind of difficult to reach out, because as a parent, you think you're the one that has to fix things. And it is in a sense, but at the same time, there is resources that we can use. And the school counselor from my daughter's school has been amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were just having an issue because a lot of the things now are, for my daughters, it's virtual, and one of them just feels really constrained because she can't type. She's not a very good typist, even though she has really good ideas. The typing takes her really too long. So instead of giving full answers on things, I've noticed it's like one sentence, because she's not really great at typing yet. So it is a struggle. Luis, what were some of the struggles and how did you overcome them with your children?
I think one of the biggest struggles we had initially was balancing who was going to look after the kids and be there as a support during the week. So my wife, who's also in healthcare, works graveyards full time. So it's worked out that she is available to them Mondays and Tuesdays while they're in school, and then I have them Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. The last couple of months have been kind of intensive in terms of homework assignments and studying and prepping for the NCLEX exam. So even though I'm physically present Wednesdays through Fridays, I really have no idea what they're learning on the days that I'm there to make sure that they're joining their Zooms and that they're at least in front of their computers. So I would say our biggest challenge right now is not so much making sure that they're in virtual school, and I don't know that we've solved this, but it's making sure that they're actually learning something. Because I'm physically present, but I'm definitely not mentally present. I have no idea if they're succeeding Wednesdays through Fridays compared to Mondays and Tuesdays when my wife is there. She's actually helping them with schoolwork. She's helping them do math problems. She's helping them with assignments. Wednesdays through Fridays, I mean, I'm barely present for my own schoolwork. So we're struggling with that. I feel like they're still getting half of me, which is no different than pre-COVID. I'm physically present, but I'm mentally not present for them. And even before COVID, I don't have the mindset or the personality type to help them with their schoolwork. I don't have the patience. I forget what it's called, but this new method of teaching children math in California, maybe other states too. I forget what it's called, but I hate it. Like the way they teach them division and multiplication, it's totally different from how I learned it in the 80s. And then my wife catches me out on that. She's like, no, don't teach them how to do it that way. That's not how they're learning it. And I'm like, well, but it works, you know. You still 1 + 1 is 2. Oops, 1 + 1 is 2. Why can't I teach them to do it the way I did it? And she's like, well, but that's not how they're doing. Oh, Common Core. That, I think that's what it's called. So that's still something we're struggling with. And I'm afraid to really look into it too deeply because I'm afraid what might discover. Like I don't want to know how little they're learning right now academically. Maybe maybe I should give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're absorbing a lot more than I give them credit for. But I'm just really concerned that this homeschooling is, I don't know how much they're absorbing. So that's been our biggest challenge.
I think one thing that I really appreciate about the district that my kids are in is how transparent they are with all of the things that they're learning. I can go on Google Classrooms and see their class stream. I can see the work that they do. With my little one, they have a thing where she has to read online, and so she'll read it and you can hear her voice recorded so that I can actually hear, which is very cute because she has a lisp, so I can hear her like little lisp, you know, they play in a swing. And she's reading. So I think it depends on how each district has managed the technology that they have access to and how well they're doing it. And I think with the district my kids are in, it's been pretty positive. I don't, they've used Think Central, Google Classrooms. And what I appreciate is that they haven't inundated us with more tech and more links and all that crazy stuff that I feel like, you know, I got 50 links in one email to learning resources and I couldn't, you know, I wasn't about to curate all that. So, you know, I know that the kids are definitely learning, you know, my child learned about the egg drop and forces of motion and Newton's laws and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. But I also know that, you know, for parents of littler kids, it's a little bit different. And Ryan, I know that you have one on the way. And what does that look like? Because there's a lot of folks, I think, who, you know, are having really different pregnancy experiences, different childbirth experiences right now. You know, access to healthcare is looking quite different. I know that when I take my kids into the doctors, it looks really different in there. What's it like for you right now?
Yeah, so for me, this whole thing has been a total 180. So pre-COVID, I was still active duty Navy, and I was a hospital corpsman with the Marines, and I was gone all the time, and either training or I was in Okinawa, and then all of a sudden I'm transitioning out of active duty, um, get myself into this company, and then COVID hit. So I went from never being home to always being home. So for me, it's actually been quite the struggle because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I haven't been around for the first 3 years of my child's life, right? So I'm still adjusting to all of that. Um, Doctor's appointments, I missed being training and being in Okinawa and Japan. I missed all the cool anatomy scans and being there and seeing all of those in person. And now I have to miss it again, even though I'm outside in the parking garage, because she has to go in by herself, and I have to have my son with me in the car. And so it stinks. It stinks not being able to go in there. And then we're wondering, what is delivery going to look like? We haven't actually been told yet what that's going to look like. Can you have at least one person in? Well, then where is my child going to go? So we're fortunate that family is going to try to be here for that. But the first one came about 3 weeks early. So who knows what this second one is going to do? But it's really all up in the air. And that's the hard part, is we don't know what the solid answer is. And does family stay out here for a whole month just to be here for that 2-3 day window? My spouse might be in the hospital. I don't know. So it's been a struggle for myself personally as a parent. And then my wife's a little bummed out that I can't go in with her to these appointments. And it's just the fact that there's no real answers yet, because here in Houston, we're still kind of struggling with it quite a bit. So there's no good answer, unfortunately.
Yeah, that seems really hard and different than, for sure. I think any of our pregnancy experiences and labor and delivery experiences. I'm going to pivot to some of the things that you did with the kids that were successful. McCoy, I know that you're sitting in the car waiting for the kids to come out of an activity. What were some of the strategies you used with your children that you found successful?
Oh, it's well, we try to be consistent with like with the jiu-jitsu, because when COVID started they had to close, but fortunately for the first 2 months they did it via Zoom. So we just ordered the jiu-jitsu mats and we did it in the garage or in the living room, and then finally when they opened we tried to be consistent, and right now we're here. We take them as often as we can. And then also their piano lessons, we're still doing it online. Um, yeah, basically that's it. And then like with the school schedule, we keep in touch with the teacher, because the teachers give you an option to give you an update either weekly in the Google Classroom. So we ask them if they can do it daily. And yeah, that's it.
Sounds good. And then Maria, I know that you packed off your child and sent her to college, a traditional 4-year school. And how was that? And what was that like for
I
you as
think
a parent?
it was hard for her, from March in her senior year, because everything went away. Her prom, her everything. She was really good. She had a virtual prom on Zoom. She was very excited about going away, but we were on the fence. And then we decided, well, if the college is doing it, then let's do it. So she went away. She's at U of O, so University of Oregon in Eugene, and she's been there almost 4 weeks, but she's having some trouble adjusting. So my husband just went back to Oregon. So I'm a bit concerned. So I'm just hoping everything's going to be okay with her. She is doing some classes. It's a hybrid model. So she is maybe going into a class once a week, and then they have a lot of Zoom. And then she's in the sorority. She just pledged, and think her focus is a little off right now, but I think she needs that also, that social aspect, because she is in a room a lot of the time with a roommate. And it's not a true college experience. It's the best that she can have right now. And she was really excited to go away. But there's a little adjustment stuff going on with her. So I hope that she makes it through. My husband says she's okay. So I'm so glad he could go up there and be with her. And I can't get away right now, nor will I get on a plane right now. But she likes being there. The fact that it's not going to classes every day like you would normally. I guess she has enough friends and she's really working hard academically. So, you know, I'm just over here in California when she's in Oregon and just kind of wondering how she's doing. That's kind of the way it is right now.
It's a hard moment to send kids away, I think. With
Yeah,
travel
you know,
being awkward.
I
and a little
actually was
scary.
not for it, but that I just kind of, I was not for it.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that one thing I appreciate about National is that the college experience is kind of what you make of it, and same with grad student experiences, and that there's no one way to now have a college experience, that there's multiple experiences that we can have, as long as it's accessible. And then I think I'll pivot to the last question of how you all manage time with work, school, homeschooling. I feel like I could relate to Luis a lot with, you know, I'm physically here, but I'm not necessarily present and engaged during the day. I think that's been really hard. You know, and also I have like little visitors of the kids when they come into the meetings. I think everybody on this call has met my kids at least once. You know, and kind of managing it all. For me, we hired a babysitter. You know, just to help with tasks and keep them, you know, occupied so that they're not watching Netflix or Disney Plus immediately after school. Because I feel like one thing that we haven't all touched on yet is kind of like TV, and how for my family it's been a bigger presence than it's ever been in our house. I don't feel like I'm alone in that, or I'm a bad parent in sharing that. I think that's the reality of a lot of our lives. And it might, you know, but I'm trying to get them out and doing more activities. But it's also true that I can't necessarily do that without having somebody supervise them more often. So what about other folks here with, you know, your own work and your own school, and also, you know, maybe you're physically home, but you can't necessarily engage? Lisa.
So COVID changed a lot for us because my son was actually visiting his grandparents out of state and going to finish first grade there until COVID happened. So that, because as a new single parent in nursing school and with clinicals, it was just too unpredictable of a schedule. So COVID brought him home and because I was home, but I do find, I agree with Luis that being the PTA parent is my worst nightmare. I don't want anything to do with it. I will bring him, I will pick him up, I will send treats. I don't want anything else to do with it. Like, that's, as crazy as that might sound, that's my worst nightmare. It's not something I enjoy. And my husband was that person. He was the one that went to sports. He was the one that went to all those things. So that's been really new, and needing to be more involved. Even though it's Zoom, it's still, you still need that cheerleader or the person who wants to do the fundraiser with you. They're still doing fundraisers, and that's not me. I don't want to do homework either. You know, so that's been a big change. But also I've found that same kind of feeling a bit detached to my schoolwork being on Zoom versus in seat. And I've had a hard time focusing myself. So it's been at least 6 months, right? Yes. There has been therapy, and there's been, you know, like a lot of self-care to get me to a place where this is working. And I think that's, you know, I think mental health has been a big issue during COVID. Some of my older children have really struggled. And so there's been parenting that's been called into play, and really hard decisions that have had to be made for my adult children as well, that affected me. the gyms being closed, because that was kind of my sanity for a long time, or not having childcare to be able to go to the gym also. So how I've managed that is therapy. I talk to someone weekly. Mostly they tell me, you're not crazy, this is hard. Like, I think the other thing that helps too is something like this, where there's solidarity and we know that other people are having a hard time with it too, or can get other ideas. Sorry, that was kind of rambly, but there's been a lot that's gone on in 6 months.
I think it's a great point, and there has been a lot. And I like what Whisper talked about with grace and extending ourselves grace, and see what Jacqueline was talking about with seeking outside, or not outside help, but the resources schools offer. National University offers Silver Cloud services. We have a manager of student wellness. Jacqueline started the Mind Body Wellness student organization, which has been great as well. There's a lot of different things that we can go to, so that we're not, because it feels like we're just alone on a Zoom and, trying to put the best foot forward and be professional, etc. But also it is hard. I mean, it's different. I went to the gym for the first time in months and I'm really sore. And it was scary, right? Because there's people who weren't wearing masks and people who were, and it was very awkward. And I was like, that's bizarre to me that we're in an enclosed space and you're not doing this. And, and maybe there's health exemptions, but I don't know if I see you pumping iron and, I don't know.
My gym is still outside, which is kind of cool. So I've actually been able to bring my son with me. It's outside. It's not in the gym, so he sits next to me, but like you said, that includes bringing his tablet.
Right.
So a lot more TV time.
A lot more TV time. What about other folks? Work, school, homeschooling? How's that been going for folks? And maybe pivoting also to mental health and self-care. Kristen and then Luis.
So I struggled really, really bad with anxiety. I actually used our wellness department, and I've used Silver Cloud, and I highly, highly recommend that if you are struggling. They have it for depression as well. It's amazing, and it helped me be able to balance my life. So when COVID hit, it was like, okay, I got this. We got this. I had a little anxiety in the first week after it happened, but it's what I do. And I have my day planned out. So in the morning, I get up at 5. Yeah, that's crazy. You have to go to bed at 10 or 11 at night, but I get up at 5. I go do some yoga. I do it off of Amazon, or I YouTube it, or I find something on, the TV, and I do it in the living room. And then after that, I meditate for 10 to 20 minutes, just depending on if I'm going to have a crazy day or not. So that's what I do for my mental health. I have a son who struggles with anxiety. I reached out to our wellness manager and I said, hey, can you help me? I don't know what to do. And we had a Zoom meeting and we talked about it, and she helped work me through some techniques to work with my son. So honestly, reaching out to our wellness department is extremely important. And she's definitely helpful. But I've been able to just we have a routine. Once you get a routine set with your kids, it helps so much. And that's what I've learned. But you have to take care of you. If you're not healthy, your family's not healthy. It's so important to make sure that you're good. Because when I was going through my really bad time, my family wasn't good. And then when I was able to pick myself back up, thanks to the wellness department, I was able to get my family back in line. So yeah, that's what I do. And then I get my kids up, I get them ready, and I'm already okay, I'm zen, I'm ready to roll. I love crystals, so I have crystal bracelets, I have oils, the whole 9 yards. But yoga and meditation have been my lifesavers. And when I'm having a moment, I do the four corner block breathing to ground myself, to get myself back into it. Because of, like I say, if you're not healthy, then your kids and your family are not healthy. And if they see mommy or daddy breaking, they're going to break. So it's so important to make sure that you're, taking care of yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. Anything else regarding what worked for folks on this call that were successful? Different strategies that you found were helpful? I know, Luis, you wanted to chime in, which I think would be great.
Sure. One thing that I've been pretty consistent about doing, even pre-COVID, but I feel it's become even more important during the pandemic, has been getting away from my family and realizing that that time that I spend away from them is actually beneficial for the whole household. Um, I have fostered 3 or 4 key friendships from my nursing cohort. Um, People who I'm now asking myself, gosh, why weren't we hanging out from day one? And we've all asked ourselves that because we feel the same. And the answer is, well, because the first half of our nursing program was so intense that none of us had free time. And now that we do have a little bit more free time, then those friendships, we've been able to nourish those friendships a little bit more. So in fact, I was almost late to today's meeting from being out kayaking with 2 guys from my cohort. And that is golden time. That is time that my kids understand that daddy's going to go do something, that as much as you'd like to come with me, daddy doesn't want you to come with him. Daddy wants to go spend time with his friends and be able to speak freely and not have to watch my mouth or think about what I'm saying. It's just me time. And I feel very fortunate that my wife has always been very understanding of that. She also has her friends, and we're both respectful of each other's necessity to maintain relationships, friendships that are outside of the household. I think that's what's kept me sane. And even though most of my friends in nursing school are half my age or close to half my age, it's amazing how much we have in common. Not just the fact that we've gone through this program together, but just as people. That's probably been the most important thing I've done to keep my act together, to stay focused, and then to be able to come home and feel like, okay, I did something for me. Now I've earned that time. I deserved it, but now I need to be home and I need to be there for my kids and my wife. Um, at first, it was a little difficult. Like I'd feel guilty taking that time, but we've gotten used to it. That's just kind of been part of our routine. Like my wife will go spend some time with one of her friends, and I will have my time every week. It's usually 2 or 3 times a week. And it's become a part of our pattern, and everyone is used to it now. So none of us feel guilty about it. And it's generally positive. And
I think that that self-care comes in a lot of different forms,
yeah,
right? Like that's because that's part of your self-care routine. Mine is running to the mall and getting a Jamba Juice and then walking through the mall. It's outdoors, and walking home, right? So I think self-care just looks different for a lot of different folks. Kristen and Jacqueline, I want to ask you, what does self-care look like to you? And what were some of the things that were successful? Thank you, Louise. I think that's a really important, by the way, perspective too, right? And experience. Kristen or Jacqueline, you're unmuted. So why don't you start?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that have been really helpful is that I try when I know I have a lot to do, I try to wake up a couple of hours before my daughter and get as much as I can done, like of school work or even work if I have to do work. And that way I feel a little bit more present while she's at doing homeschool and that she really needs me. Like I'm okay giving her that time. And otherwise I'm giving her the time, but I'm like resentful for it because I have my things that I'm supposed to be doing right now, you know? So that's one thing, waking up a couple hours before because the house is quiet and you can do your work in peace. And another thing is that I've been working out through Zoom with friends from NU 3 times a week, constantly since pandemic started, since shutdown, 3 times a week. And that's been really helpful.
That's fantastic. I do my morning run. I found that to be helpful as well. And then Kristen, Alspa.
So I had to give up a lot of what I thought a good mom should be. I don't dust the corners of my house anymore. I don't actually go shopping either. I do a lot of Instacart, Amazon through my wedding. And then I get the ready-made meals from Costco because I can't afford to DoorDash every meal. But oh my gosh, those Costco like fettuccine Alfredo that I can have delivered and I can cook for the kids. And I really had to give up, I think, a lot of guilt for not being that mom that's making the dinners every night, that's doing everything. I still try to keep up on laundry and dirty dishes so the house doesn't smell bad and we don't get flies, but I definitely have given up on dusting. And I did assign the kids chores, but I found that with distance learning, they're having a lot of additional schoolwork as well. So we just kind of live in what we live, and I just have to be okay with that. Like I have to understand that this is temporary. We're all in a temporary situation, and you know, the house, whether I clean it today or I clean it a week from now, it's still going to get dirty. So that's kind of the grace I had to give myself in giving up that perfect mom persona, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's great. Whisper.
With that, when the whole pandemic started, we already had so much trauma that happened in our home and such a big change. And then all of a sudden you're trying to explain to a 2-year-old why you walk outside and everybody's staring at you as a single mom, and your 2-year-old doesn't have a mask and he can't see faces. And there was a big pile of like fear when you walked outside of our house. So my biggest thing was like, when we're in our home, it might be crazy, I might be stressed, there might be dishes in the sink, but our home's going to be safe and our home is going to be fun. And so I try to do like something where we're painting and it's okay that there's paint on the floor, we can mop it, or Play-Doh, or just when dinner's being cooked, music is loud and we're dancing and laughing, and just making my home where it's not fearful, because everywhere outside of our home, there's so many questions, there's so many misunderstandings, and there's a lot of fear going on. And so at least for a 2-year-old who doesn't have language, he has a little language, but not where he can be like, oh, I'm scared of what's going on. He knows that when he's home, his home is safe and we're creating memories, and whatever happens outside of our doors, we don't have control over, but we can control what's inside our house.
That's great. It sounds, I want to make dinner with Whisper at her house. It sounds like it would be super fun. I think that's an excellent, point, is to make the home feel really safe for kids as well. McCoy and Ryan, I want to get to you real quick, and some of the strategies that have worked for you and your children that were successful.
Sorry, it's loud. The kids are back. No, it's just I agree with what Whisper and Christine said about the home being. It's just funny you mentioned that, because like our home is like the dishes are like mushrooms. They just appear all of a sudden. It's like you just cleaned it and then they grow. It's like it's there. And then like the clothes are like, it's like playing chess. You just move it from one corner to the other. So yeah, you just ignore it and just have fun. So that's that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that grace is, I remember I asked my 8-year-old to put away her clothes, and she said, yes, I did. And she put everything away. And when I was putting her hamper back in the closet, there they all were, all the clean clothes right on the floor that she was supposed to hang up. And I said, what happened? She goes, laundry's boring. It's like, yeah, I know. We still have to put it away. So that was not the most successful, but it was also like, yeah, laundry is boring. Ryan, what were some of the successful strategies that worked?
Kind of a common theme with some other folks on the panel, and it was even the same for me pre-COVID, is just get up before everyone else is up and just make those hours yours when the sun hasn't even come up yet, because that is your time. Whether most days it's a workout, because that's the only time I'm going to get it in. But on those rest days, sometimes it's, do I get ahead on work? Do I look at my resume and my LinkedIn profile? What am I doing to take care of myself and be ready for that next step in the journey? Are there dishes I can maybe get a head start on? but just wake up before everyone else is, because that's just a little bit of time to yourself to even just think in the morning, I think is super beneficial and a huge part to that self-care and that mental health aspect to it. So even if you hate mornings, I hate waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, but if I don't, I know I'm going to feel worse at the end of the day, as if I had just woken up and just done that self-care, done that workout, just took care of myself. So that's the key to our success here.
It really is, that taking time for oneself and starting the day on a good note. Maria and Lisa and Kristen Valentine, did you want to say one or two more last things about successful strategies?
So I do ocean swimming, and that sometimes I get in the water. I go in the morning because now I'm student teaching. It's the only time I can go. That makes sense. And so I'm out there at 8, and I was telling a friend, once I get in, and fortunately it's been warm enough, right? But once I get in the water, I just feel it, whatever it is that's troubling me, I feel it just melt away. It's incredible. So I find that when I do take that time, like other people were talking about, to take care of myself, that I can have a better day, and it's just it's like when you're on an airplane, you say they tell you to put on the mask first and then help others. It's exactly that. You have to take care of yourself so you can help others. So that's kind of what I do to help myself get through things. Yeah.
Awesome. And then Lisa and then Kristen Valentine.
One thing, like a common thing that's come up is kind of grace and letting some things go. And actually in doing that and letting some things go, like my laundry, I'm looking, my back's to the wall, because if I was looking the other way, you'd see my laundry on the couch, but I let that go. And instead we made pumpkin muffins tonight. In the hour before this, that's what we spent the time doing versus me doing the laundry, because I've realized that, since I'm not super enthusiastic about his schooling, I try, but I can find other ways that I do enjoy to spend time with him. And I think I've realized how important that is during this too, kind of like Whisper said, to feel that safety and that connectedness at home, since things are just so unknown.
Yeah, definitely. And then, and by the way, pumpkin muffins are awesome. We got the boxes of mix from Costco. Those are amazing. Kristen Valentine.
So just self-care is really important. I also bought a Roomba to help me with my floors, because we have nothing but tile floors. So that really helped us with just keeping the floor clean, because having 4 children home and then having a dog and all these reptiles, it's fun in our house. But yeah, like Whisper stated, keeping your house a safe zone. Your house is your safety net, so making sure that's really safe for your family is important. But yeah, like I've stated before, just you really need to take care of you in order to take care of your family.
Awesome. And that's a great note to end on. I want to thank everybody for being on this panel, and everybody who's watching this in the future. And I think a couple of the main takeaways are self-care, extending grace, creating a safe space in your home for you and your children, and also utilizing the resources as well that are part of all institutes of higher ed. And at National University we have Silver Cloud, the Office of Student Wellness as well. And to check in with your child's school to see which resources that they have as well if your kid is having a tough time. And I just appreciate everybody on this call, and I think we're all doing amazing, and I think all of our kids are doing great too, and kids are resilient, and I think they'll do fine. And they'll if they're falling behind, they'll catch up, and hopefully they're just keeping pace with the school. And I want to extend a big thanks to everybody on this call also, because all of the folks on this call also work in education, as school psychologists, as you know, teachers. I want to thank the people on this call who are also in the mental health area. I know we've got some council MFT and, as you know, MPH folks, and you know, the nurses on this call as well. You know, those who are in the healthcare field. I mean, everybody on this call is in a profession that's helping somebody else, and I really appreciate that about National University and the folks on this call. So everybody have a great night, and thank you so much.